session 8, part D, early days with your baby. So, hello, welcome back again. Here we are looking at the early days with your baby. So we're looking at right the way through from when you were on labour ward and you had your baby in your arms, right the way through to when the baby's about a month old. So looking at that pathway very quickly, right back at the beginning, the baby's been born, the placenta has been birthed, we've checked to see if you need any stitches, and if you do, we've done those. In a previous video we discussed how to care for those stitches. We have weighed your baby, we've checked your baby over, so have you, checked all the baby's fingers and toes and everything. We've discussed with you whether you're going to have vitamin K for your baby. I'm not going to go into vitamin K now because we've got a lot of things to talk about, and there's a really good description about vitamin K now, you know, whether you want your baby to have it, whether you want it given orally or whether you want it as an injection. There's a lot of information about that on Family Assist, so I'm not going to say any more about that. So the baby's all sorted. You fed your baby, we've mentioned that already. You've had some tea and toast, and nothing tastes better after the baby's born than that tea and toast. Cheap old bread, cheap old butter, but it tastes fabulous. You've been out and had a bath or a shower, and we've done a copious amount of notes that we have to do that goes with the birth of the baby. And so probably about 2 hours or so have gone by now since the baby was born, and most people then will head on round to the postnatal ward, so to Tangmere over at Chichester and to Bramber over at Worthing. Sometimes people go home directly from labour ward or directly from the birth centre, but most people probably go around to the postnatal ward just to get a bit of confidence, just to get a bit of help and support initially. Yeah, so I've got this little board here that I'm going to show you that will show you that sort of like the timeline really, and the pathway of things that's going to happen after the baby's born. It's quite difficult to be really accurate about the timings of everything here currently, because obviously with the COVID-19 that's made a big impact on everything for us all. I mean, we're not able to run the classes, are we? So can't sort of see you and you know, talk to you and get responses from you. But in the same way, for the postnatal care, some things have changed. The care that you get has not changed. Everything that you would, you know, that you would have had if you birthed your baby a year ago, you're getting. But just the venue that you get it and the timings of when you get it might be slightly different because of this COVID-19. So it's very difficult for me to say exacting times and things right now, because I don't know which time you're looking at this video. So again, it's really important to look on Family Assist, because they have constant updates of things, you know, any practical changes that are occurring. Okay, so I've got my little calendar here in front of me, and unlike normal calendars, it's got a day 0. Yeah, that's because when your babies are born, if your baby was born at, say, 5 past midnight this morning, then your baby would have 23 hours and 55 minutes at day 0. If your baby was born tonight, this evening, at 1/4 to midnight, your baby would only have 15 minutes at day 0. Yeah? So when we're looking for most of the things that the care that we plan for you and your new baby, for most things, how we work things out is not by how many hours old your baby is, but by the day in which it was born. So some babies will have just 5 minutes or so at day 0, others will have 23 hours plus at day 0. Okay, so if your baby was born early this morning, then there's a really good chance that, having gone round to Bramber ward, you've had some support, you've got your confidence, everything's going great. You might very well go home that same day. Might go home today, later this evening. If the baby was born in the evening, yeah, or during the night, then obviously we're going to stay and go home here. But all this is, as it always has been, is very fluid, really. It depends on, what's right for you and for your baby. So this is just a general guidance, really, and it's going to be different for different mums and different for different, the same mum, different pregnancies. Yeah. So I can't tell you, but as a general rule of thumb, that's the sort of the amount of time most people stay with us. If you have a cesarean section, generally speaking, people that have the cesarean sections would expect to stay an extra day. Okay, so you've gone home from hospital here. The very next day, the community midwife is going to contact you. So she's going to phone you, and she might be doing a phone visit with you, consultation with you, or depending on what you say, she might need to come to see you, or she might get you to come to one of her clinics. But she's certainly going to contact you on that first day that you're home. So after you've had one night in your own bed at home, then that very next day she's going to be calling you to see how things have been, how it went for you and for your baby, what sort of a night you've had, how things are all going, how things are all doing, how you're getting on. The next visit, the next time that you're definitely going to see your midwife, and this will be a face-to-face contact, so it may be at your home or it may be at one of the children's centres, but that appointment, that visit will be on day 5. Because on day 5, we like to do 2 things with your baby. We like to weigh your baby, and we need to take a little bit of blood from your baby for screening for a couple of rare conditions that are completely treatable. Actually, it's for lots of conditions that we're screening for, but they are all treatable. So that's why you're screened. And if I show you this little picture here, you can see this picture of this little baby. It's just a tiny little spot of blood we get. It looks like there's lots of blood there, but actually, it's really absorbent paper. So a little drop of blood goes, quite a long way on that little collection pad, a little bit there. So that screening, as I said, it's the little blood spot there is taken on day 5, and we always say it's a really good idea to keep those babies' feet lovely and warm before we go to take that little drop of blood, because it makes it a lot easier to do that little job. Yeah, so that's day 5. Also, I mentioned that the babies are weighed. It's quite common for them to lose a little bit of weight by day 5. It's no big surprise really, because they have been luxuriating inside of you. They have come out as well. They have to put a bit of effort in, but also, of course, more importantly, of course, when they're inside of you, when they first come out into the world, you'll see their first poo is called meconium. It's thick, it's black, it's tarry, and over the next few days that's going to be pushed out through their gut. With good feeding, that kind of pushes that through. So it's no surprise that by day 5 they might have lost a little bit of weight. Some haven't. Great, fabulous. But if they have, that's okay. We would expect them to not lose any more than 10% of their birth weight, yeah? But, so that gives you a bit of an idea on how much, what weight we're expecting of them when we weigh them that day. So if I just show you this, this is my little knitted nappy, yeah? I love my little visual aids here. Now, if you could see it and touch it, you would, I'm sure, be very impressed. So you can see that when the babies are born, the poo, this represents poo, I don't know if you can see it here, it's thick, it's black, it's tarry, and it really does look like Marmite. In another video in a little while, we'll have a look at some practical skills, and we'll talk about nappy changing and things, yeah? But it looks thick and black and tarry, then it goes sort of a bit of a changing stool, we call it, so it has like a bit of a greeny tinge to it. And so by the time you get to day 5, if the baby is feeding well, what we'll often see is that the poo is now, it's changed to be a lot more mustardy colour, a bit like this, like Dijon mustard, peanut butter, crunchy peanut butter, that kind of thing, yeah. And that's what you would expect. That's what you'd expect to see then continue to be like that if you're a breastfeeding mum, if you've got a breastfed baby. If you're formula feeding, or what you would then expect is that the poo would become more like the poo that we would all recognise, with that stronger odour, shall we say. So it's quite difficult for me to show you too much about the nappies, when we're here and I'm showing you on my little iPad. But what I want to point out to you is that when you are in the coming to hospital to birth your baby, the antenatal notes that you'll have been carrying around with you in your purple folders all this time, we then have those because we need those to add to our labour notes. But when you go home after you've had your baby, you get 2 more little sets of notes, one for you and one for the baby. So this is the baby's postnatal record. So when you're at home after you've had your baby, this can be a really useful resource to you. So lots of things in here that you might find really useful. So on that first page you can see the 5 to Thrive things, the things we'd already talked about earlier. You can also see some common health concerns in newborns and who to contact. That's kind of a really good sort of like a quick cross-reference for you. And over here, stuff about feeding, but also, just as we were talking about just now, stuff here about nappies. What you can expect to see in the nappy, how many times a day you'd expect the baby to fill the nappy, all that kind of thing, what's normal, what you can expect to see. So all here tucked away within this set of postnatal notes. It's a really useful little resource for you. I don't know if you look at your antenatal notes, but you should, because there's lots of little bits of resources in there for you now as well. But here, after you've had your baby, this is a really useful tool for you to use. Okay, so that is day 5. And the weighing the baby, taking some blood from the baby's heel for some screening. And then the next time that the community midwife will definitely come and see you is, or see you at the children's centre, either at your home or the children's centre. It's a face-to-face visit. Will be at day 10, around day 10, somewhere around there. And on that day, we're going to recheck the baby's weight, and that is, hopefully your baby will be heading back towards its birth weight if it's not already back at its birth weight. And checking that you're well. Also checking that everything's going well. Hopefully by now the cord has dried up and dropped off. We'll talk about that when we're talking about practical skills in a little while, but I just got that little cord just to show you there just for a moment. But just generally that all is going well for you. And if that's so, then she's going to discharge you to the health visitor. So then the health visitor will make contact with you. So whereas midwives are working 7 days a week, so if these days fall on a weekend, you will still see your midwife. But the health visitors, they don't. So if you were discharged from the midwife, say on a Friday, although she would pass the information over to the health visitor, you wouldn't expect to hear from her at least till the Monday, because obviously they don't work over the weekend. So she'll contact you, make a plan with you when she's going to see you, and see how things are going for you. Okay, so that's not all of the care that you'll get, obviously, because along the way there's someone called the maternity support worker who's a great resource for you. It's going to really help you with feeding and lots of the practical baby skills stuff, So you'll meet her when you're still in the hospital on the postnatal ward, and she'll be able to tell you when, how you can contact her when you're at home for extra support with the feeding and, as I say, the early baby care stuff. She will also be doing a hearing screening for your baby. So again, that might be done when you're in the hospital, or it might be done at a clinic that she'll invite you back to after you have gone home. Depending, in the ideal world, it will be done in the hospital, but it depends on if if it can be done before you go home, really. Sometimes you know, it can be noisy in the ward, or sometimes it's the, you know, you have to do it when it's going to be most accurate for the baby. So sometimes it's not possible to do it still when you're in the hospital. So as I say, it might be done afterwards. But I've put it just here, but it doesn't have to be done that quickly. It can be done quite flexibly when that is done. So that's, you know, that's the skeleton really of the visits that you'll get. And as I say, when you see the maternity support worker in the hospital, she'll be able to tell you there is a phone line available throughout the day. So if you didn't have a plan expecting her to call you to make contact with you, you can always give her a call for help, for support, for getting feeding going for you and your baby. Now, the other thing that I would also mention is that, of course, all these people work 9 till 5 hours. So you might find that when you go home, before even the community midwife comes to see you, that you could be thinking, oh, I don't know what to do about that. So the first night that you go home, before you have the contact with that community midwife, you might think, oh, I don't know what to do about that. Then, of course, there is a 24-hour service available for you to talk to us. So you could phone the postnatal ward, or you could phone triage. And so, you know, it could be right up here before even the first visit from the community midwife. So it could be that first night when you go home, you get home. And sometimes that's the case, isn't it? You know, everyone else is asleep, and you kind of know you've got the right answer, but you're just, you know, you're not sure, you just want reassurance. Never feel that you can't call us, you know, I don't want to disturb anyone. It's absolutely fine. It's a 24-hour service. Please call, and, you know, someone will be able to help you, or give you some advice, that's for sure. Also, that it might be after that you've finished with the maternity services and you're being cared for by the health visiting services, that you know, it's the weekend, or it's you know, it's 8 o'clock in the evening and you're worried about something. Of course, again, up until the time the baby's about a month or so old, you could still phone you could still phone the postnatal ward, or you could still phone triage. And again, I hope that we'll be able to give you, you know, if not advice, point you in the right direction of where you can access that advice. So you're not alone. There's always people around to help you. What I should also mention is, of course, you can see here the blues. Around the 3rd day, it's just at the day that the milk is coming in. It's around the day that you're beginning to feel really tired. It's around the day everyone's paying attention to the baby and not to you. It's no wonder that you can feel a little bit tearful. Everything is making you cry, and you don't know why. Yeah, it's you know, more so than it has been in pregnancy. There's this real surge, a real rush of hormones around that time. That's really normal, but it should only be for a couple of days. If a couple of weeks down the line you're still feeling really tearful, you're still not enjoying the baby, that isn't how it should be. And the person that's going to notice this the most is your partner. They're going to be there with you. They're going to see, you know, what's you know, how you are, what's different, how you're not enjoying the baby. Then, you know, there is lots of agencies, lots of support out there, because whilst the blues is normal, we know that 1 in 10 women have postnatal depression, and partners too, for that matter. Yeah. So there is support out there. But, you know, I always reflect on a particular piece of research that I looked at a couple of years ago, that was from Durham University, and it looked at a young group of girls who every single day push their babies out on their prams, and there was a real significant drop in postnatal depression in that group of girls. And they said that was for 2 reasons. Yeah. One is because they got outside, yeah, and they just felt better for going outside. And even, you know, in this period in time now where we're social distancing, even from a distance to see people, yeah, can feel, you know, can feel really great. But also it was the exercise, yeah, because how many babies do you see crying as they're being pushed along in the prams? They love it, yeah. So I would say to you, people often say, oh, how soon can I go out after I've had my baby? The babies will be fine. Just wrap them up. Yeah, it's it's not really a problem for them. It's more of a problem for you. If you feel tired, then turn around and come home again. After you've had your baby, you will have a period like a blood loss, yeah. And after you've had your baby, that period is there for a couple of days, and then it goes quite watery, but often it comes back a bit heavier when you go home. That's one of two reasons. One, because you're doing too much, yeah, your body is saying, take it easy. Or sometimes it's because you're so tired as a new parent, you're so busy that you haven't had time to go to the toilet for ages, for hours. And sometimes, just as before you had your baby, we talked about the bladder and the womb fighting for space, that's exactly the same after you've had your baby. If you don't go to the toilet frequently, sometimes it makes the womb not able to to contract down well, because that bladder and that womb are fighting for space, and then there becomes a larger surface area to bleed from, and so you can have a heavier blood loss. So if you do pass any clots, then obviously do call us, let us know. But maybe one of the first things to do if you do pass any clots is to go and have a wee, because often that is something that just makes a huge impact. But what I'm saying from all of this is that, often your body is telling you, if you're doing too much, telling you what you need to be doing. So the getting out there is good to do. Obviously social distancing, of course, at this moment. But pick your times right. It's a good thing to do. And, please also look for, speak to your community midwife, speak to the health visitor, go online for the supports, because it really is out there. Okay, so that's lots of stuff for the early days. So we've got lots of things there, and don't forget, you see, you're not alone. There's lots of help out there. But just currently, things, as I say, because of the way things are with the COVID-19, maybe the exact days of things when they occur might be slightly different. And also, I mentioned about the initial baby check that we do when the baby is first born. We're just, kind of looking at your baby, its fingers and toes, and, just checking it's got complete palate, all sorts of things like that. But there is a more in-depth baby check. It's called NIPE. It's sort of a physical examination of your baby, newborn physical examination, and we try to do that with government guidelines in that first 72 hours after the baby's born. So again, hopefully that will be done when you're in the hospital, but we if we don't, we'll be making plans with you when we need to do that. But to fit that in as near to that time frame as we possibly can, and that's just checking for listening to the baby's heart, and doing checking baby's hips, that kind of thing. And it's midwives can do it who have got extra training, or the paediatricians do that check for us as well. So again, the main thing I can say, hopefully that's useful, this information I've given on the those first 28 days. But things are changing all the time, so please look on Family Assist for the latest updates, and it will very clearly tell you what's currently happening. Or of course, speak to your midwife, and we'll be guided with each time you see somebody. We'll be guided what you can expect next. Okay, so I think that's enough for that one. We've really gone over with time this time. I'll see you in a while for another video.